A lot of you know us already, but I'm Lisa Kennedy. This is Rose Combs. We're the co-presidents of the MTEA. And as you know, in a little less than a month, it'll be election day, where people can have their voices heard from the top of the ballot all the way down to the local races, such as the Board of Education. Tonight, we're gathered here to hear from the Board of Ed candidates as they share a little bit about themselves, their views on and their roles as potential board members, and their thoughts on how they'd like to work with the community members and educators to give Millstone students the optimal experience in our schools.
Tonight we have three candidates here to share their views with us. They're Dr. Zico, Mr. Signorella, and Mrs. Biello. Unfortunately, we were disappointed to find out that Mr. Gicatino and Mr. Winkowski canceled last minute. However, we do have two statements that we will read now from them. This is from Mr. Winkowski. I regret that I'm unable to attend tonight's event, but please know that my absence does not diminish the importance of the work that needs to be done. I share the sentiment of my fellow running mates when I say that the values of dedication, tradition, and excellence will remain a guiding force in our service to the community. This November will be my 7th year as Millstone resident, and I feel honored to be able to pursue this position. With over 20 years of law enforcement experience, I vow to bring that knowledge to keep our schools secure and safe for all students and faculty. Beyond my law enforcement experience, I also possess a master's degree in organizational leadership from Johns Hopkins University and have been fortunate enough to teach law enforcement topics across the country as a subject matter expert for a private law enforcement training company. More important than any professional achievements, I am a father and a husband who wants to see all children in Millstone achieve success. I was fortunate enough to meet many of our residents at Millstone Day and connect with them to explain our positions and our goals for Millstone. It was refreshing to see so many people on the side of common sense, and I know that our team will adequately reflect the community that we serve. Thank you again for this opportunity. Joseph Winkowski.
And I'll read a statement from Richard Gicatino. I regret I could not attend tonight's Meet the Candidates event and would like to outline my thoughts and goals for the BOE. I would like to help Dr. McCartney address the rising costs of running the school district in any way I can, improve student achievements and test scores, assist the BOE in a long-term district plan, apply common sense to the decisions made by the BOE. I thank the MTEA and the citizens in Millstone for considering me to part of the education process and will do my best to serve the students of Millstone Township. Sincerely, Richard Gicatino.
In November, 4 seats on the Board of Education are up for election. Our hopes tonight are for people in the community to meet, greet, and hear from these candidates so that they can make the best, most informed decision possible in a few weeks. Before we begin, we'd like to go over some of the structure and ground rules for the night. In just a few moments, we will begin by having the candidates all give a 3-minute statement addressing the audience and sharing a little about themselves and their goals in this potential position. Once all candidates have given their opening, we will then take audience questions for 30 or so minutes. If you'd like to have a question considered, hopefully you submitted one at the sign-in table as you entered tonight.
At the end of the audience questions, each candidate will be offered up to 3 minutes for a closing statement. After all closing statements, we'll then allow people to mingle with each other around the room as everyone hopefully enjoys some refreshments. Not long after that, we will conclude our evening. We ask that all interactions tonight with the candidates be respectful, courteous, and in good faith. We trust that we can all exchange ideas respectfully and be good role models to our children, which we strive to be every day. Now we'll get started. Denise will start with us.
One of the things I want to just express is our candidates are here to be.
Stand and salute the flag before we begin.
Sure.
Sorry now, I should have thought of that. Don't get me started.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Natalie, we'll give you the floor for 3 minutes for your opening statements.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Before I begin, I want to thank our MTEA, not just for giving us this opportunity to speak with you, but to have the chance to speak to voters and hear what's important to them and share a bit of what matters to us. But more importantly, I want to thank you for being on the front lines of education every day. I was not surprised that when we took the time to ask them questions and really listen, they had a lot of answers already to the problems that we have to deal with in this district. And so I think it's really important that we are acknowledging them as the invaluable resource that they are. And so I thank you for that and the opportunity to introduce myself to all of the people here tonight. My name is Natalie Biello. I have served on our PTO board, our PTSA board, MTFE board. I've taught religious education at St. Joe's. I've run the Destination Imagination team here. I've chaired every event from book fair to ladies' night out in casino. And through those opportunities to serve this community, I've been able to see it through a variety of lenses. And two things have become apparent to me over the years. There's a lot of things that we do really well, and this is a wonderful place to be. But also, we can do a lot better, because right now, our students' test scores in all test areas are lower than every similar district in Monmouth County. And that's not a reflection on our children, and I don't believe it's a reflection on our teachers either. We have massive financial headwinds that we need to address. We cannot act as though we don't have serious issues. One of which being we're expecting over $2 million lost in state aid this year. Another issue that is really critical and we're facing, and we need to be honest about it, is that we have lost almost every administrator in this district. And that is a canary in the coal mine, and if we fail to see it, we're in danger of losing our teachers next. And so I'm here today because it's important to me that we refocus ourselves onto three areas. We need to improve academic outcomes across the district. We need to build financial resiliency. We need to retain, develop, and attract top teachers to our district. And I bring to you real solutions, actionable plans with benchmarks along the way so we can measure our success and so we can course correct if need be. And I look forward to sharing the details with those plans with all of you tonight. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Natalie. And you did just 3 minutes. Wow, good for you. Okay. Dr. Seco?
Thank you very much. Again, thank you to everybody who was here. I'm glad there was an applause when Natalie said, please rise for the national anthem. Because if you have attended any of our board meetings, we start with the singing of the God Bless America, singing of the national anthem by students, and having students say the Pledge of Allegiance. That has never been done other than prior to my administration. The focus that I bring is on kids, and if you attend or have attended any of the board meetings, you will see kids being honored. I reach out to the superintendent prior to the board meeting and say, who can we honor this week? Please get us a different group, especially the kids from the primary school, when we staff the meetings in the auditorium. To see those kids on stage and have their eyes light up large. Now I know why Gina goes into theater, you know. It's great when kids are up on stage, the happiness. Test scores. I brought up test scores. Some of you don't know my background. I spent most of my career in Patterson, New Jersey. A lot of you are a lot younger than me. You may not know this movie, Lean on Me. The movie Lean on Me was made about a guy by the name of Joe Clark, and his reason he got famous was, believe it or not, little old me. He decided to promote me to be in charge of the math department. And within less than 1 year, we got scores less than 50% passing in Patterson, New Jersey, to over 91% passing. One thing led to another, and they made a movie about Patterson Eastside High School. Him and I had an argument because he attacked the teacher, and the union in Patterson didn't back up the teacher, and even though Joe Clark was a good friend of mine, I backed up the teacher. And Joe Clark said, don't do that, I'll go after you. And I said, I will always do the right thing. And that teacher was supported. Okay? Test scores. How can we bring up test scores? Well, one of the big things is to make sure your director of curriculum is in the district 5 days a week. We had a director of curriculum, you may or may not know, who was at a district up to 3 days a week. The board had approved the shared service for 1 day. You cannot run a district doing paperwork at night. Director of curriculum should be in the schools. The idea of having a director of curriculum is to guide the teachers, okay? To say, here, try this, do that. I honestly believe Dr. Baker will do a great job. Why? Number one, he's going to be in the district 5 days a week. He's not concerned about being at a district. And he listens. One of the people he's listening to, I believe, is the assistant superintendent of curriculum instruction at Upper Freehold. That man is fantastic. It doesn't hurt to ask, hey, what are you doing? And I believe he is doing it. They have a great partnership, and you can lead by asking
Dr.
questions.
Zico. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Signorella?
All right. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to start off by thanking the MTEA for hosting this event, bringing out the community to meet us tonight. So thank you very much for that and all the hard work you do every day in this district. So for the folks who don't know me, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. So I've lived in Millstone since 2020, so about 5 years now. I've lived in Jersey my whole life. I haven't gone very far. Grew up in East Brunswick, did my undergrad at Rutgers, did my graduate work at Georgia Tech, and prior to coming to Millstone, we lived in neighboring Monroe for about 15 years. I have 2 kids in our collective districts. My son, Evan, is in 5th grade. My daughter, Angela, is a sophomore over at Allentown High School. And I can say the experience we've had is fantastic. This is a tremendous district, as is our partners over at Upper Freehold. My wife, many folks know here, also works in the district. She's been an aide over at the elementary school for the past 5 years. She's got the pleasure to know many folks, kids over the years since she's been here. So what's my day job? So I run the cybersecurity practice for a major telecommunications company. So what is that? From my perspective, I have a lot of experience with budgeting, compliance, risk management, legal, and these are all skills that translate well to the activities of the board. So I've been on the board, so speaking of board service, I've been on the board for nearly 4 years now. And I've seen successes and I've seen challenges. So from a success, I want to focus on the success first. We have a great new leadership team in this district. We have Dr. Jim McCartney is fantastic and that's a big victory of the board to bring him on to this district. Fantastic new director of curriculum, Dr. Baker, is doing great things. And I think he's going to do wonderful things to address our test scores. And we have a new leadership team across all our schools. We look across the middle school, elementary school, primary school. We have new folks. Change is good. And I think we've got a team in place to help us succeed. So, common sense. Our platform is common sense leadership. What does that mean? To me, it means putting the needs of the students and the community first at all times. Is the decision we make right for our kids? Is it fair to the taxpayers? Does it make our schools better and stronger? Examples: bringing free full-day kindergarten without a significant impact to the budget makes common sense. It attracts young families to our district, gives our youngest learners a nice head start, and increases property values for folks who don't have kids in schools. Protecting girls' school sports is common sense. Making sure our girls have fair and safe competition, preserving the opportunities that Title IX was designed to protect. These are just a few examples, just simple, common sense things, practical decisions. Our community. Thank you.
Priorities of Board Ed is to represent the community. You have to remember that the administration does not own the schools, the boards do not own the schools, the community owns the schools. So you have to represent the community. Okay? A lot of people, when they get elected, they forget that we're here for the people. And more importantly, we're here for the students. Okay? I believe that everybody has rights, but I will fight to keep boys out of girls' sports. I will fight to keep boys out of girls' locker rooms. I will protect all students. And what separates me apart is that I have experience. I'm a retired superintendent. And some of the things we did under this administration was with the Eisner report, which is something I've been asking for since 2015, to see how we can save money without affecting services. And I'm not afraid to think out of the box, but you have to understand something. The board does not run the district. The board can only make suggestions. And if the administration does not act on those suggestions, then there's nothing the board can do unless it is in policy. So I have about 57 years in, I know I don't look that old, but about 57 years in education. Thanks, Jan.
Thank you very much. Okay, so, Mr. Signorella, what sets you apart from the other candidates, and what do you think should be the priorities of the Board of Ed?
So I'll start with the priorities. So in my mind, a couple things. One is the budget. We all know that in Monmouth County here, we're getting murdered by loss of aid due to the S2 funding. Coupled with that, so we've lost like $3 million staggered over the last 7 years and more to come. We're also dealing with unprecedented operating costs. So you think about your own home budget. Anyone like their electric bills in the summer? Probably not. Think about that on a larger scale. Water increases, benefits costs, utility and energy costs, transportation and fuel costs, special ed services, security, maintenance. It just, it's a perfect storm of financial challenges. And at the end of the day, if we don't take control of that, puts risks to our education programs, and we're very fortunate over the past few years in the fact that we have prioritized our educational programs. We cannot cut, despite we see what happens in other districts. So what are we going to do about this? So one of the things the Eisner report recognized is the fact that we are underperforming on going after grants and aid. And we can make a comparison to the Freehold District. They just had honored their business office. They had pulled in millions of dollars in grants. They pulled in $2 million of stabilization aid to address the S2 funding gap. We haven't done it, and we need to get aggressive. And with Dr. McCartney in place, we've already applied for one safety plan earlier this year, and there's more to come. We have to go after every dollar we can get to help bring in additional revenue. We have to bid out district services. We have to make sure that for the vendors we've been working with for years, that we go out to bid, make sure we're getting the best value for our dollar. So other things we talked about, the test scores, and then getting test scores and student achievement up is important. Dr. Seco talked about the fact that we have a director of curriculum out of the district that 3 days a week doing Millstone work on weekends. That's not going to work. That's an important role to guide the teachers and to make sure that our curriculum, all this stuff is up to snuff. We correct that. Dr. Baker's doing a great job, full time. We're going to keep monitoring our data to see what is the effectiveness of the new PLA, new math curriculums, and we'll adjust as needed. The last thing is we need long-term planning in this district. You guys know that since 2015 we have not done a strategic plan. Scott Fetter was the last time before us that actually we had a strategic plan in this district outlining our priorities. Our facilities plan hasn't been updated in over a decade, and we have aging facilities that need work. How can you guide your spending if you don't have plans? So that is probably one of the number one focuses we have, is to make sure that we have a plan to execute.
Time.
Thank you.
Mr. Signorella, next time you answer a question, can you turn your microphone a little bit?
Sure.
Would you like, Ms. Biello, would you like me to repeat the question?
Gosh.
Okay, what sets you apart from the other candidates, and what do you think should be the priorities of the Board of Education?
I actually kind of think that's sort of two questions that have a similar answer. I think what sets me apart and the reason why I'm running is because I know that there's, listening to what you guys have to say, there's a lot of things that we agree on, and I've talked to a lot of parents that all agree on the same thing, we want the same things. But the reason what sets me apart and why I'm running is because I think you need someone new on the board to help us keep our focus on the issues that matter. We have 3 serious issues we need to address, and when we use things like protect girls' sports that we don't actually have, they're hypothetical issues, and protect girls in sports, absolutely. But right now and never in the past has it been an actual issue in our district. So we need to refocus ourselves on the things that matter, on all of the financial things that they're talking about. We need to have a plan. We can't continue to do things like offer full-day kindergarten for free and expect that there's not going to be costs. When it rains in the library here. We need money to fix those things. I mean, there's a lot that we need to focus on, and so that is really why I'm running. I want to make sure that we are focusing on the things that we all agree on and the things that are most important to parents and students and teachers and residents, taxpayers as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next question, Mr. Signorello, you'll answer first. How do you plan on balancing the needs of the district with the impending influx of children and not sacrificing our student needs?
That's a great question. So that kind of pivots us right back to the need for strategic planning. Again, we have new housing coming into town. There's some new developments coming into place, high-density housing. We need demographic studies to understand what the impact of the district is. That'll have impact to our facilities and the capacity of our facilities. But again, I go back to this has not been done in more than a decade. And operating a district in that way is like operating a ship without a rudder, right? So I really like the fact that Dr. McCartney coming into the district has grabbed the bull by the horns, and he is proceeding forward, starting with, and many folks, some of the folks here may have participated in his vision sessions to understand what is the character of this district. And now he's launching the strategic planning sessions, of which we'll have a concrete plan that's with input from the community on how we can address these issues. I don't think any one person on the board can solve these problems. It's a combination of the community and the leadership and the board coming together to come up with a plan of how to address this.
Thank you. Okay. This is going to be Ms. Biello. How do you plan on balancing the needs of the district with the impending influx of children and not sacrificing our students' needs?
There's a lot that we can do to drive efficiencies in the district. There's two ways to look at it. We may have a lot more kids coming in, but we also, only 13% of our population are children in this district. So we actually have a declining enrollment at this point. But there's a lot that we can do without adding any more of a burden on our taxpayers, who already make a massive commitment to education in the form of their taxes currently. I'm a big fan of writing grants. I'm surprised we haven't been taking more advantage, because there's a lot of grants in looking through, trying to find ways that we could maximize our resources. I found about $500,000 to $1 million in grants that we have available if we really put our minds to it and start applying for them. We have to really, a big priority that we need to do is we need to start taking a look at the districts around us that spend either the same as much as we do per pupil, which is over $24,000 per pupil a year. They are all of the districts that are economically similar and spend the same amount as we do, have higher performing test scores. So we need to stop over there and meet with them and figure out what are their best practices, so we're making the most out of the resources that we have. I think that we need to partner up as real partners with our PTO and our MTEA, because I can tell you that I know we have a few leaders of our PTO in the crowd. There were times where I felt like we were just a commodity, and I think when we really respect the contribution of the people who are running those organizations, when we really truly work together with people as partners, I think we'll be a lot more successful. Sponsorship programs are another avenue that I've learned about as I was researching for how we could help make improvements to our district. A lot of the more successful districts around here have programs where they'll sponsor sponsor STEM grants or they'll sponsor a particular class. And so there's a lot of ways that we can, we also need to make sure we're right-sizing we need to make sure we're using our teachers in the most impactful way. So, yeah, those are a few of the ways I think that we can really just make the most of our resources that we already have available.
Thank you. Mr. Seco, how do you plan on balancing the needs of the district with the impending influx of children and not sacrificing our students' needs?
You must give the teachers the tools that they need to be successful. It's all about the kids. All-day kindergarten was brought up. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have students here, you don't have schools. What all-day kindergarten did by having free tuition is allowed more people to speak to realtors in town. People with families are starting to move in. On my block alone, there's 10 kids that just moved in under the age of 7. That never happened. I've been here 15 years. So all-day kindergarten is good. Plus, and if we didn't do it in 2 years, it would have been mandated by the state. So it's better to be proactive than reactive. In terms of grants, I've always reached out to the administration to do grants, and it always fell on deaf ears. I appointed myself to be the board representative to Upper Freehold. And every time I hear something good at Upper Freehold, I bring it back to the administration. Every time I heard about a grant, I brought it back to the administration. Administration didn't act on it. Mrs. Signorella mentioned Upper Freehold grants. Let me tell you how much they got for grants. The business administrator was awarded 3, maybe 4 months ago with an award. She had brought in, ready for this, over $4 million worth of grants. Imagine what we could do with $4 million. Imagine $3 million. Imagine $2 million. Imagine $1 million. What did we get? Well, we got an answer that said we didn't think we were going to get the grant, so we didn't apply for it. What kind of an answer is that? You apply whether you think you're going to get it or not. That stabilization grant that Upper Freehold got, you know why they got it? Because a lot of districts thought they wouldn't get it if they applied for it. But Upper Freehold said, well, we got a 50-50 chance. Nobody else applied. Guess what? They got it. It was over $2 million. Those are the things that have to be done. Strategic planning. Now I found out we didn't have a strategic plan because I was on the board in 2015 and we had one. Silly me, I just assumed it was continuing. Upper Freehold, we just approved their strategic plan. I came back, Ms. Banks was the interim superintendent at the time, said, Ms. Banks, can you tell me what's the status of our strategic plan? She goes, I don't know, I don't think you have one. She did some checking and she said the last one that was done was under Scott Fetter. Where was the previous boards? Where was the previous administrations? And again, in terms of test scores, best practices, I'll tell you one best practice. You make sure that you have your staff, especially the director of curriculum, committed to Millstone and not worry about Roosevelt, okay? You can't be at another district up to 3 days a week and expect your test scores to go up. The teachers need your guidance. We have great teachers. It doesn't hurt to give them the extra tools that they need.
Thank you. Time.
We said thank you at the same time.
I think I already answered.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. All right, so we're on to Mr. Seco. You're going to be first on this new question. Yeah. Do you feel the Board of Ed should have a say in curriculum, and what will you do to help fix it? And also, how do you view the role of advanced math programs in the district? And how would you work to both preserve their rigor and raise achievement across all student groups?
Okay, let's start with the advanced math. Advanced math is good, but the most important thing, in my opinion, is to make sure every student knows their basic skills. Let's not forget, you must master basic skills. Now, you can accomplish both things at the same time. Do I believe that a kid in 6th grade should be taking advanced math, algebra? No. I think that kid should be learning the basics. Now, if there's an exception, you never hold anybody back. But how do you keep the advanced math program going? When I first got on the board, I asked the question, and I still to this day haven't gotten an answer. All the kids that took advanced math in 6th grade, and 7th grade, and 8th grade, they took algebra and geometry. What did they do in high school? Because the premise of that is to take 5 years of math in high school on top of what you did in elementary school and middle school. And the answer is not that good. So what's the purpose of that advanced math program in 6th grade? Okay, kids are kids, they should have fun. But I want to compliment a teacher at Upper Freehold. My grandson, some of you may know him, Dominic Baldino, he's in advanced geometry. I always like to ask what's going on in school. And he had an assignment that really amazed me, that I hope Dr. Baker would bring to you guys and you ladies. What was the assignment? It's advanced geometry, and he had 30 questions on SAT geometry. He's a freshman. He had 30 questions on SAT math that pertain to his lesson. That's how you improve test scores. It wasn't just random questions. She told the class, these are SAT questions. We are covering these topics now. Let's prepare for the SAT at the same time. That's music to my ears. So when you have kids getting ready for the 8th grade test, the 7th grade test, all the tests, etc., why not give them a practice test? That's what I love about Dr. McCartney, and I think Dr. Baker is going to do a great thing because they are on board with giving practice tests. You have to infuse the material into the curriculum. What I'd like to see, I know you asked me about advanced, but what about shop classes? When I was a kid, you had shop classes in 8th grade. What about home economics? The biggest mistake that was made in education was saying everybody should go to college. Everybody should have the opportunity to go to college. But there's nothing wrong with working with your hands. When Patterson got rid of their shop classes where kids were becoming mechanics and electricians and plumbers, biggest mistake. You want to ask me one of the other questions?
The other question.
The other question was about the curriculum and how you would help to fix it.
Well,
If you should have a say in it, and how would you fix it?
yeah, 5 seconds. Education committee makes suggestions. It's up to Dr. Baker to act on them.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Signorella, I'm going to read the questions again. Do you feel that the Board of Ed should have a say in curriculum? What will you do to help fix it? And how do you view the role of advanced math programs in the district? And how would you work to both preserve their rigor and raise achievement across all student groups?
So we'll talk the curriculum first. So the board, what's the board's role in curriculum? The board's role is to approve the curriculum that's put in front of it. Back to Dr. Seco's point, we have an education committee that works with our director of curriculum on the content, and ultimately that's what comes before the board. That's the right way to address these issues in working committees, and then the vote to the board to either approve or reject what that product is. And then if we reject it, we go back and make changes. With respect to advanced math, you know, as someone who's done a lot of advanced math in my collegiate career, you know, the one thing that jumps out just in general is that we rely a lot, I feel, on technology these days for math. My daughter's in a geometry class right now, and the teaching is not my power. I'm a big believer in going to the board and working out problems on the board, children, so that the others can watch and learn from their peers, right? I'm a big believer of the teacher working on the board, the whiteboard, things of that nature. Even from working out problems. Not everything has to be done in a Chromebook. As you get more into advanced math and do proofs and all these other things, that becomes more apparent. I just think that technology is not always the answer. Now, AI is a great tool to help with math and to help where you're struggling. It's a great tool to understand kind of where you go wrong. There are good uses of technology. But I just think we're a little too dependent on it. And I think that moving away from that would be a good thing. And I also echo Dr. Seco's sentiment of preparing for tests. Everyone here has probably taken, or many people have taken the SAT, GMAT, GRE. What did you do? You prepared, right? You took a course, you take practice questions every day. We have to make preparation for standardized exams part of the rigor of what we do every day in the classroom. You know, representative of what the kids are going to see on NJSLA, other exams, right? And the other point back to, and again, it kind of ties into it. Shop classes also have implications. And, you know, not every kid's going to go to college. There was an interview with Jensen Huang I just read in Fortune magazine about, he made a statement that because of the advent of AI and all the data centers we're going to need to power AI, he made a prediction. We're going to need hundreds of thousands of plumbers, electricians, HVAC folks to go, and that's going to be one of the big winners of the AI revolution, is the people who are going to build infrastructure. So the fact that we have no representation of any of this in our schools is crazy, and we really have to change that. So, and again, I think that ties in with the rest of the curriculum questions. So thank you.
Thank you. Perfect timing. Okay. So, Ms. Biello, I'll read the question again for you. Do you feel that Board of Ed should have a say in curriculum? What will you do to help fix it? And how do you view the role of advanced math programs in the district? And how would you work to both preserve their rigor and raise achievement across all student groups?
So I think the curriculum responsibility of our Board of Education is that we operate at a policy level. And I think it would be a priority of mine to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the community, but not getting ourselves into legal trouble, because we can't afford to just keep hemorrhaging into the legal bills the way we are now. So I feel as though we can, and I think that in a lot of ways we have met the needs of our community with our current curriculum. I'm not on the board yet, so I don't really know exactly how it gets decided. But in terms of hopping over to the advanced math, I can tell you advanced math is important to our kids in advanced math, and so even though there are a small number of students, I think we need to make sure we keep the value on everybody reaching their maximum potential. And I think there's a lot of ways that we can do that. I think that we do need to actually leverage personal technology, personal learning, so that the kids can learn at their own pace and we can differentiate what everybody's getting so everybody is able to reach their maximum potential. I think that we need to optimize staffing. We have, currently there are sometimes teachers that have windows of time where they could be doing different things. And so I think, that's a big piece of it. Making sure our staff gets the professional development, the quality professional development. I spoke with a lot of teachers, I did a survey, and that was one of the top things. They want better professional development. They want to create spaces where every child, whether you're struggling to pass a class or you are in advanced math, they want to give our children the best opportunity for success. I think it's important that we create a board-level achievement committee that really addresses how are we making sure that every student has the best academic outcomes possible, and what can we do to get closer to that position. I also think real-time adopting some of the AI platforms that honestly we can even start but don't cost a thing. That'll give us real-time data tracking. The more we know, the quicker we can course correct. I think waiting until once or twice a year for standardized testing, our teachers can get right on top of helping our kids. They will be able to better understand where the gaps were if we don't make them wait for next year until the standardized testing comes back. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So our next person to start would be Mr. Signorella. Millstone has a phenomenal staff. What are your thoughts on the administration asking for professionals who are the expert in their field, their thoughts and opinions on curriculum?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Millstone has a phenomenal staff. What are your thoughts on the administration asking the professionals who are experts in their fields their thoughts and opinions on curriculum and possibly including them in the process?
Sounds like a fantastic idea.
Okay, do we want me to repeat the question, Ms. Biello?
Just to make sure I catch all of the pieces of it.
Okay, so Millstone has phenomenal staff. What are your thoughts on the administration asking the professionals who are experts in their fields, their thoughts and opinions on curriculum, and including them in the process?
I think we're absolutely falling down on the job if we're not doing that, truthfully. I've spent a lot of time talking to residents and parents and teachers over the last month or two. And I'm not kidding when I tell you they already have solutions to some of the most pressing challenges we face. For example, our math scores go from in elementary school, they leave elementary school at 57% proficiency, and then they leave 8th grade at 44% proficiency. And in talking to one of the teachers, I learned that there was a point not too long ago where they were offering study skills. And so our students right now, one of the suggestions I think we should consider, we have each of our middle school students gets 4 elective periods. If we just take one of those elective periods and we work on test-taking skills, we know that they showed improvement. We know it works. And so, again, optimizing staffing, we have teachers that are phenomenal at all different things. And so if we really give them the opportunity, I think that's how we solve a large part of our problems for this district.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Seco, you want me to repeat the question?
Look,
Okay.
any school, in order to be successful, has to have input from staff, has to have input from the community. I keep belaboring the issue about our director of curriculum at a district up to 3 days a week. The director of curriculum should be talking to teachers. What do you need? How can I help you? Is there anything that you need that I'm not aware of? I was a very successful educator, not because I'm the smartest person in the world, because I surrounded myself with good people and I always listened to staff. You have to take into consideration what the staff needs, because nobody knows the students better than the classroom teacher. You're with them the entire period, okay? So it is very important, and I hope, and I really believe Dr. Baker, under the guidance of Dr. McCartney, will be doing that. And to get back to shop classes, suppose somebody's struggling with fractions, okay? You can have tutoring. What if you had a shop class where they said, cut a piece of wood 1 7/8 inches or 10 7/8 inches, okay? You have to put beams every 16 inches, so you make up a problem. What if you had to cut 15 2/5 inches? Home economics, suppose you had your sewing, you said, need a piece of material, 1 3/4 yards. You can infuse mathematics with common day sense. Home economics is a great course. I'll tell you a funny story. Many, many years ago, I was ironing something one of the few times that my wife didn't do it. And my son, who just came out of a home economics class, says, Papa, you're doing, not Papa, they call it, grandkids call me Papa. Dad, you're doing it wrong. I said, what do you mean? Because I learned in home economics class, you take the iron, put it on the ironing board, not the clothing. Lift up the iron, pat the ironing board. If it's warm to your touch, it's ready. And I said, wow, I learned something. That's not mathematics, but it's a real life education experience. Learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Quality librarians in our libraries. For my own family in particular, the librarian at the time for us was Mrs. Q-Tub, and so much happened in that library. That library was a safe space for people for kids at lunch. It wasn't just your library and your technology and your media room. Everything about that place was a place where kids came to learn and came to grow, and you do need the guidance. I think even in our younger schools, just having the chance to although it is great to not have to, you know, take my kids to the library like every single week, it's nice they can go and visit a library. But to have a full-time librarian is, I mean, we spend $24,000 a year per student. We can maximize our staffing to allow for us to have a proper librarian. It's a state mandate that if I mean, there have been times where we have been in and out of compliance because we don't have a proper librarian in the classroom. Although I have to say, there could not have been a better librarian than Mrs. Chutz. So that's a little bit heartbreaking, honestly, for my family in particular that we lost her. But yeah, I wholeheartedly support making sure that we have our libraries are properly staffed.
Thank you very much. Mr. Seco, the middle school library, oh, do you want me to repeat it or no? Okay.
Do I believe in having a full-time librarian? The answer is definitely yes. And your question was, if you're an incumbent, how come you didn't do anything about it? You can only make suggestions. The court cannot direct anything. All we can do is make suggestions, and if the administration, superintendent, doesn't want to do it, it's not done. Okay? We as a board, our powers are limited. We can only suggest. And I was trying to rack my brain. A librarian, was it the Dewey Decimal System? I'm going back when I was 9, 10 years old. We go through those cards. And I think it was the Dewey Decimal System to try and find books. I honestly believe we should have a full-time certified librarian. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Signorella, do you need me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. So, I think we're on here. Yep, there we go. So, I personally believe it's really important, and I echo the sentiment that Mrs. Chutz is fantastic. And love of reading is so important. You know, your ability, the love of reading elevates your test scores. You know, just reading 10, 15, 20 minutes a day at the younger levels gets those scores up. It's a great practice, and there's no better way than to get a love of reading than having great qualified folks in the library to help the kids find things they like and navigate the system. But I'll also echo what Dr. Seco said. We can advocate, but we cannot. The function of the board is policy, approving budgets, strategic direction. We do not make staffing decisions for the district. We can advocate. And I'll kind of echo back to another point that you made earlier. We wouldn't be in these straits of the inability to hire a librarian if we had gone after, again, I go back to Upper Freehold got $2.6 million in stabilization aid over a 2-year period because they applied. Stabilization aid was to address the S2 funding losses. Imagine if we had $2.6 million. Where was the prior administration, where were the prior boards in making this kind of stuff happen, right? From a grant perspective, you know, we won't be having these discussions if we're bringing in the appropriate revenues in the district. And again, I go back to under Dr. McCarthy's direction, I think this is going to be a priority for this district. And, you know, again, that will give us the latitude to move forward and fill some of these much needed roles. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next question, and we will be beginning with Mr. Seco. So what is your view on student dress code based on policy?
I trust the parents. This is not a Catholic school or a charter school where uniforms are required. I trust the parents to dress their young people appropriately, just like we trust the teachers to set an example on how to dress. So my statement is, parents, dress your kids appropriately. You're doing a good job. I don't see any issues, okay? So I will not enforce any dress code other than having good taste and recognizing what the parents suggest. Now, many years ago, they used to say you have to put your hand down for a young lady wearing a skirt. If your skirt's not a couple inches above your knee, you were sent home. But in Millstone, I don't see an issue. I don't see an issue in Upper Freehold. So I trust the judgment of the parents.
Okay, we're moving on to Mr. Signorella. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. As Dr. Sico said, I really don't, having two kids that have gone through the district, I haven't seen any issues with respect to dress code. I think we have a policy on dress code. I think that parents in this town, we're very fortunate. We have parents that are very involved in their children's education, very involved with the community. I think we make good decisions, right? So again, back to the point between uniforms, things of that nature, no. But for whoever raised the question, if you do see an issue, it should be raised with administration, and then we can kind of, the administration can take that up on a case-by-case basis. So I think we're doing, from what I've seen, I think we're doing a good job.
Thank you. Mrs. Biello, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I think, again, thank you. I think I agree with the gentleman up here with me. I do not know it was an issue, if it is an issue. And I feel as though, yeah, generally, I've never known it to be an issue in this district. So I don't, I wouldn't even know where to go with that, but I think as our parents, I'm not sure what to do with that. I didn't even realize it was an issue.
So I want to be, in total transparency for whoever asked the question, it was a very long question. So there is a problem, and we're not talking about uniforms. They're talking about students coming in with inappropriate tops that don't necessarily cover their midriff, and other types of clothing that maybe would be appropriate to go to the beach or to go to the movies, but not necessarily for school. So if you would like to respond to that, we'll go back in order. If not, then we'll just leave it.
I'll take it real quick. So we do have a policy on dress code, right? So we can look that up. I don't know it by heart, but certainly at the minimum we would expect that the policy that we have on record should be followed, right? So if we're seeing behavior that goes against that, again, my advice to whoever raised it is the first step is to take it to the administration of the school. They're your first and best resource to address those issues. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback. Ladies and gentlemen, if there's an issue at the school, whether it's dress code or anything, your first person to go to is the teacher. Then you go to the administration. And if that fails, then you go to the superintendent. Okay? Then, if that fails, then you go to the board. But if there's an issue with dress code, you got to go to the principal of the school, because there is a policy, and the principal has to enforce the policy that was certified by the board. But again, I'll go on record as saying, parents that I have come in contact with and the kids I've seen having a lot of grandkids going through the school system, I don't see an issue with it.
Thank you. Did you want to comment, Ms. Biello?
No, it sounds as though it is not necessarily an issue that would get to a board level before it got to what qualified other levels before us.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start with Mr. Signorella. The next question is, in local forums, issues of transparency in budgeting and spending have been raised. How would you prioritize budget line items for things such as maintenance, capital improvements, in aging infrastructure?
So, let me turn this on. So, let's talk about transparency first. So, a couple things. One, in this past year, prior to this year, we didn't have a finance committee. We had budgeted a whole across the board. The past year, we actually instantiated a finance committee. The finance committee is a set of board members who work with the superintendent, the PA, to hand-in-hand to construct the budget that starts with the presentations that begin around February and then work through the approved budget, which is around the May time frame. I think we did a really good job this year. One of the things that was really key this Dr. McCartney did a roadshow with the budget. He went to the middle school, the elementary school, the primary school. He went school by school and invited parents to come out. He made a presentation on the budget. He invited folks to ask questions. That's really transparency, not being in a big board forum, but going school to school and interacting with parents one-on-one, right? So that's a complete change from where we've been in the past. I can tell you, having been on the board for 4 years, and Dr. Seco echoed the sentiment in the early days. February 20th would roll around, be sitting in the board meeting, a presentation would come to my desk with the first cut of the budget, and I didn't even have time to review it. And I'm looking at it, and it's got my name stamped on it, right? So I think we've made light years of progress with respect to transparency, and we're going to do more. And one of the things is that for school budgeting, it's not just February through May. Budgeting is a whole year-round activity. I mean, you might take July and August off, but starting in September, you're meeting and you're getting all your stuff together, and that's something that we're going to be very rigorous about. In terms of the maintenance of the aging infrastructure, well, that's where our long-term facilities plan comes into play. Again, you're exactly right. We do have aging infrastructure. There are repairs that need to be made in this district. There are investments that need to be made in security and other places. So we have actually gotten started with an architect to take that dust off that document from like 2014 and bring it current, so that way we can put that plan together and then figure out the right way to finance those investments. And we'll also look at the facilities, look at capacity, and again, make decisions based upon that. So again, it's a common sense approach in how to solve these problems. And I'm very confident with Dr. McCartney and the Finance Committee we have in place and the Operations Committee that we're going to have some very detailed presentations coming up in the near future on those. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Biello, do you want me to repeat the question?
I think I
Okay.
So transparency was one of the things that came up a lot from parents and a few residents who seem to be interested in the things that are going on, as they should. And the questions that I didn't really know how to answer either, and if I can't make it to a Board of Ed meeting, I listen to the minutes. So it is, I understand the concern for transparency, and it came up over full-day kindergarten. So we decided that we're going to offer full-day kindergarten, and we lost. It's not quite like people don't understand, and I think the lack of transparency, whether it's intentional or not, I don't think it was intentional, but there's things that are going on that we don't seem to have a way to pay for, like the fact that it's raining in the library here when it rains, and I mentioned that, and somebody's kid said, oh, it also rains inside the elementary school, and we had Ms. Blahod, a math specialist, left last year. We had a grade level teacher that left last year, and those roles were not filled. And so now we have students that are underperforming, and we're losing specialists, and we're losing teachers, and there was never a plan to explain how are we getting not only the money to fund a full day kindergarten for everyone, as well as where we're going to lose money because it was a revenue source, as well as going to cost us money. And so I think transparency is a huge piece of it, because people feel as though, whether it is true or not, that there's, it's intentionally being kept, or whatever the reasons are. I think transparency is a big deal, and we need to. That is a concern of mine as well, how we're going to maintain the aging infrastructure, because I also didn't see any kind of plan for that in the budget.
Thank you very much. Mr. Seco, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, ma'am. Transparency. Dr. McCartney, as Mr. Signorella said, took the budget to the community. He had 3 open houses. I went to them, not all of them, I went to one of them. And the number of people that showed was minimal. He explained about full-day kindergarten, where the money's going to come from. He explained about the budget. Okay? You can't ask for more transparency than that. We've never had that before. And as Mrs. Signorella said, we never had a finance committee. It was budgeted a whole. So the transparency is there. You just have to go and listen, or you can come to a board meeting and ask a question. He did a presentation at the board meeting. And this man is very transparent. We've never had a superintendent like him in my tutelage here, other than Scott Fetter. He's the only other superintendent I knew. Scott Fetter, he had the strategic plan in place. Whether you liked the man or didn't like the man knew how to run a district. He did the last strategic plan. He did the last long-range facility plan. Okay, thank God we got Dr. McCartney, and he is going to make sure we have it, and I hope the community gets involved. The strategic plan is only as good as the input from the community and the staff, administrators. We're all in this together. Okay? Now, transparency has to be there. Okay? And I'll tell you a silly example. When we brought up the long-range facility plan in finance, one of the members said, okay, we got to go to RSVP and we can hire a firm to come in and tell us what to put in the long-range facility plan. And I made a comment, don't we have an architect? I said, Upper Freehold had an architect who did the preliminaries. Why do we want to spend money? And the comment was, well, he's old like you. I said, well, old like me? I said, I'm pretty competent. Is he competent? And to make a long story short, we nixed the RSVP, and the next finance meeting, and I think it was operation meeting, it was stated that we're going to go with the old man, and they looked at me and said, I think he's younger than you. I said, most people are younger than me. But those are the things the common sense team brings to the table. You just don't go out and hire somebody just for the sake of hiring somebody. But that would have cost us $50,000 to tell us what we already know, okay, if not more. So we're going to have an architect. He's working already as of the last operations committee, I believe it started, okay? And we'll get input from the community. There's things that have to be done. I used to go to all the dance programs because, you know, my granddaughters, they're dancers. And I was there one time and the roof was leaking on the gym. And not the gym, on the stage.
Time.
Things like that have to be fixed.
Audience will ask. If it's not okay, then we will end it here and you can mingle with the candidates. Is there any objection to us asking the last question? Okay, good. Seeing none, I'm going to ask it. And I believe we're starting with Ms. Biello. Oh, wrong glasses, sorry. Okay. What is your philosophy on tax increases versus program cuts? How would you explain those decisions to taxpayers?
I first make sure that we are honest about the fact that we pay about 79% of our taxes go to education, while most people, I believe it's maybe like between 50 and 60. So it's a massive contribution that we absolutely need to be respecting. I think that we need to make sure that we tax our that we put a cap on our tax increases, because there's so much that we can do to make use of the resources that we currently have, that we do not need to put any further burden on our taxpayers. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Seco, you want me to repeat the question?
This time I'm going to say yes.
Okay. All right. What is your philosophy on tax increases versus program cuts? How would you explain those decisions to taxpayers?
First of all, my entire career, and even ever since I've been on the board, my statement is, see where we can save money without affecting services. But you have to understand something that the public really doesn't understand, I don't think. The biggest costs of a school district are salaries and health insurance. We got killed this year with health insurance. No fault of anybody, but the health insurance went up close to $900,000. And you got a 2% cap, okay? Most of that's eaten up by salaries. And I believe teachers should get paid what they deserve. I'm not talking about you don't deserve it, you deserve every penny you make. But when you're doing a budget, what's most of the money go to? Salaries and health insurance. Then whatever's left over, you try to get books, get these new programs, and work with the students. That's why I keep hammering away all those boards that allow the director of curriculum to be out of district 3 days a week on the justification that, well, it'll bring in some money. We may be able to get some students from Roosevelt, they'll help pay the taxes. Well, I've been hearing that since 2015. We have to worry about Millstone residents. Keep taxes as low as possible, keep the quality of education, and under my leadership, I don't advocate cutting staff. Too many school districts, when there's a budget shortfall, the first thing they say, let's cut staff, okay? I always used to tell the people in charge, over 57 years, see where you can save money without affecting services.
Thank you very much. Mr. Signorella, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay, I got it. So, this kind of pivots us back to right where we started about, as Dr. Seco said, declining aid, increasing costs. The S2 funding formula says that towns like us should pay our fair share of tax. So, typically, the cap is 2%, so they say that you should raise your taxes 2% a year. With respect to the costs, again, as you said, increase in health benefits, transportation costs, some of the routes for the charter companies we use are just, you could send a black car and pick up someone every day for some of these costs, but it is what it is. Despite all these pressures, we should never, we're in the business of education, we should never cut our education programs. That should be the absolute last thing that we cut. And, you know, getting back to some of the dialogue on full-day kindergarten, we're in the business of education. Go out there and look at the studies. Full-day kindergarten does wonders for our early learners. How could we, as a Board of Education, sit here with a straight face and say, revenue is more important than educating our youngest learners equitably? So, you know, getting back to, you know, some of the mechanics behind this. We had a VA that was out of district a day a week working at Roosevelt when we could have been going after grants, aid. It wasn't happening. But like I said, we commissioned the Eisner report, which was an independent firm that came in. They came up with some great findings. We're working, the superintendent has already gone through and implemented some of that. And again, I think from our perspective, we want to be responsible with taxpayers' dollars. We have to be realistic given the pressures. But, you know, again, education is the last thing we're going to cut. And, you know, our duty from a common sense perspective is to look at every single bill that crosses this district and make sure that we're spending that money like it is our own. Thank you.
Thank you.
So this concludes our formal events for the evening. Thank you to our candidates for your time tonight. People are more than...
We're going to end, actually we're closing, and if you have a closing statement. Dr. Siegel, we'll start with you.
I wasn't standing to run out, my leg was cramping up on me. I've got an injury, okay? I know people in the district, especially on the finance committee, he's old, he's going to have sore bones. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on board in 2015. I didn't run again in 2018 officially when my son died. I was asked to come back. I came back. You know what I stand for. I stand for the community. First and foremost, it goes in this order. Staff, teachers, parents, okay? Because without the teachers, you don't have student success. Without the parents, you don't have student success. So we all must work together. One of my favorite mottos is working together. And I mean that, working together, not this, if I say black and somebody says white, and I say white and somebody says black, which happens a lot. Working together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Mr. Signorella?
So I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I want to thank the MTEA. This was a fantastic event. Thank you guys so much. Since I have a little extra time, I wanted to just bring up one issue in the closing that's kind of important to the community. So who's been near the elementary school and the primary school recently? Have you been on your phone? Can you hold a call?
No. Satellite.
So Tina just mentioned, not really. Folks, that's a significant safety issue in this district. God forbid, during the day, after hours, we have organizations that come in, someone has a medical emergency outside. You can't make a phone call. It's crazy. So we've been talking about this for a bit, but under the new administration, we're finally taking action. We just had an operations committee meeting. We have an RFP going out to work with communications companies. Most folks realize, they probably look by the primary school. Hey, we've got a cell tower right there, right on the property. Well, that's for emergency equipment, but what we can do is build a tower next to it and put T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T will come and they'll pay us to put their equipment there. And that'll benefit us and all the communities that surround it, right? So revenue, again, back to revenue source, paying for that librarian and that support, right? So this is one that I didn't get a chance to bring up earlier, and I think it's a real concern among parents, among the staff, among the students. One of the last things I want to say is just, there's the notion of we should look to other districts. I completely agree, to help us in our journey. There's a great district right over there. It's called Upper Freehold. They under the leadership of Mark Goodall and some of their administration that they have, from a grant perspective, from an education perspective, we don't need to go across Monmouth County. We've got folks right here. We need to build that relationship with our partners. Where our kids go to high school, the bulk of our kids, we need to understand how successful are Millstone kids when they go to Allentown compared to the Allentown kids. Where are we falling short? Where are we exceeding? We need to build that relationship, and I think that's really, really, really important. So with that being said, I hope you guys all come out, support common sense, and thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you. Ms. Biello?
I also want to thank you all for coming out and giving me a chance to share at least a fair amount of my vision for a stronger millstone with you. We talked a little bit about the challenges that we're facing as a district, but I really want to leave you with the reason why I'm running, the vision that I see for this district. We can be a district where our children's test scores don't just beat our national averages, they lead in Monmouth County. We can be a district where our administrators have all the resources that they need to give their teachers to maximize our teachers' potential. We can have classrooms full of teachers who are empowered by really quality professional development, another thing we can use grants for. And given the autonomy and the respect and the support to create spaces for our children to be the most successful learners. I don't know if everybody knows this, but the most important in-school factor for our children's success is top quality teachers. And so your top quartile teachers will give I'm a data person, so you'll get a year and a half worth of education out of, versus your bottom quartile teachers, you're getting half of a year out of. So we need to make it a priority to retain and develop and attract the best teachers. We can be a place where residents know that their massive commitment to education that they make in the form of their taxes is being well spent. We can be a place where our students don't just leave here adequately prepared, they leave ready to take on high school and succeed there as well. We can be a place where parents know that their children are safe and well educated. And it's not just a hopeful vision. These are achievable goals because we have already so much of what we need to succeed. We have exceptional funding, we have really engaged parents, families, we have small class sizes, and we have dedicated educators. So what we need now is leadership that is willing to make excellence the expectation, not an exception. And we've seen common sense leadership for a while. This is what we've had, and if you feel as though we need to make improvements in the areas that are improving our financial sustainability, if you believe our test scores can be higher, we can do those things to raise them. If you believe that we need to make it our business to make our town a destination district, excuse me, for teachers, because that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If we can make
Time.
this, oh, sorry, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, for real this time. This concludes our formal events for the evening. Thank you to our candidates for your time and your thoughtful answers. People are more than welcome to stay, mingle, enjoy. We have a whole table here full of food. Please help yourselves. We hope that this evening allowed people to hear from our candidates in a way that better prepares them for their vote in November. Good luck to the candidates this election season. Good luck to everyone here, and hopefully you get to the polls in November. Please get home safely and have a good rest of your night.